Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cutter, Danielson, Exum, Fields, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hansen, Henriksen, Jaquez Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundin, Marchman, Moreno, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter, Zenzinger. Mr. President.
Here. The morning roll call is 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused. We do have a quorum. Will the good senator from Colorado Springs please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of Monday, February 6, 2023 be approved as corrected by our secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. Senate Services.
February 7, 2023, correctly printed Senate Bills 1, 12, 13, 14, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, 140, 141, and 142. Correctly engrossed Senate Bill 23, correctly re-engrossed Senate Bill 46.
Committee reports.
February 6, 2023, the Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 8 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. February 6, 2023, Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 61 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. February 6, 2023, the Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 76 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. February 6, 2023, the Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 99 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 112 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 113 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 114 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with the recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 115 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation it be placed on the consent calendars. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 116 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 117 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 118 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. recommendation with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 119 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with a recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 120 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 121 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 122 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 123 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 124 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 125 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 126 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 127 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 128 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 129 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 130 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 131 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with the recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 132 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 133 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 134 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 135 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 136 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 137 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 138 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 139 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 140 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with the recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 141 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. February 7, 2023, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 142 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. February 6, 2023, the Committee on Judiciary, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1049 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. February 6, 2023, the Committee on Judiciary, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1033 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. February 6, 2023, the Committee on Judiciary, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 34 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 6, 2023, the Committee on Judiciary, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 64 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. February 6, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on Transportation and Energy has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar. Confirmed members of the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission for terms effective July 1st, 2022, expiring July 1st, 2026. Brett Ackerman of Colorado Springs, Colorado, to serve as a member with formal training or substantial experience in environmental protection, wildlife protection, or reclamation. Appointed. Michael Cross of Arvada, Colorado, to serve as a member with substantial experience in the oil and gas industry. Appointed. February 6, 2023. Mr. President, the Committee on Transportation and Energy has had under consideration and has hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar. And confirm members of the Orphan Wells Mitigation Enterprise Board for a term expiring September 1st, 2023. Kimberly Mendoza, Cook of Evergreen, Colorado, to serve as an individual individual with substantial experience in the oil and gas industry appointed for a term expiring September 1st, 2024, Lynn Baca, Brighton, Colorado, to serve as a local government official from a jurisdiction that has oil and gas development appointed for a term expiring September 1st, 2025. Christopher Simmons of Denver, Colorado, to serve as an individual with formal training or substantial experience in land reclamation projects appointed.
Third reading of bills. Consent. Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the title to the bill on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 23, Senators Rich and Marchman, Representative Holtorf, concerning CPR training for high school students.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of the one bill on the third reading consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 23.
Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of the one bill on the third reading of bill's consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 23 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Janal, Bridges, Roberts, Exum, Pelton, BNR, Simpson, Will, Baisley, Gardner, Minority Leader Lundin, Smallwood, Kirkmeyer, Liston, Priola, Fields, Cutter, Winter, Jaquez Lewis, Buckner, Danielson, Gonzalez, Mullica, Coleman, okay. General orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Roberts will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the coat rule is relaxed for Senator Smallwood's birthday. Will the clerk please read the title of all bills on the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar?
Senate Bill 40, Senator Fields, Representative Young, concerning a requirement that staffing agencies perform a CAPS check when providing employees who will work with at-risk adults. Senate Bill 37, Senator Cutter, concerning requirements for solicitations related to the Secretary of State.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the adoption of all the bills on the general orders, second reading of bills consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 40 and the associated Health and Human Services Committee report, and Senate Bill 37 and the associated State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report.
Is there any discussion on the committee reports? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the committee reports on the general orders, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee reports are adopted. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to do a quick comment about Senate Bill 40. I think that this is a very good bill and a long time coming and will generously help many at-risk adults. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the general order, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and all the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the committee is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 40 as amended, Senate Bill 37 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered, engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 40 is amended. Senate Bill 37 is amended, passed on second reading and order engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself in the committee of the whole for the consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Roberts will take the chair.
I did. I think it was. Could be. I don't think I can find, though. That's just the president, right? Yeah. All right. The committee will come to order, and the coat rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title of all the bills on the general orders calendar? One by one. Senate Bill. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Bill 15?
Senate Bill 15, Senators Rodriguez and Will, concerning vehicle value protection agreements.
Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 15.
To the bill.
Colleagues, this is a bill that is a product that I've offered in other states. Basically, it is a loyalty program that is completely optional for auto dealers to offer to people buying their cars, and it is completely optional for people buying their cars to buy this program. It is just a loyalty program that can offset costs if they return to the dealership for some supplements for down payments. Basically, the bill says that it is not an insurance product, but while the companies who offer this product have to have insurance to warranty the coverage offered, it's just a pretty small bill, just a consumer-friendly protection to be offered to consumers.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Mr. President. I got on this bill. I think it'll really help some of the people that I represent in my constituency, especially with the use of UTVs and purchasing of these very expensive UTVs, et cetera, that we see all the time now. And I think this is a good bill. It's the fact that it's optional, you opt in or opt out. It's real easy. So I think it gives some protection to some of our consumers, and that's why I like this bill.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was a no vote in committee on this bill primarily for the reason that I don't believe this rises to the level of state statute. This is a new offering, a product that I will probably buy myself next time I buy a new car. It sounds like a pretty interesting opportunity for protecting the value of my car, especially in disastrous cases of theft and the like. But I don't see any reason why the state ought to be getting involved in this business transaction. There is the desire, the intent in this bill, as stated, to ensure or to put this in a category of not being insurance, where I think it actually is, and where even those testifying, and Mr. Woolard, discussed how this would pay out claims, and there was a Ms. Woolard, and a Mr. Chapman talked about this being something that would protect financial exposure. So for those two reasons, I think that it really is insurance, and that's okay, but more importantly, this is a contract between the dealership and the consumer, and there's not a place for us to codify their new product in state statute. So for that reason, I would recommend a no vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 15? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 15. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 15 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title and the committee reports for Senate Bill 41?
Senate Bill 41, Senators Janelle and Smallwood, Representative Amabile, concerning the authorization of prescription drugs approved by the Federal Food and Drug Administration for off-label use.
Senator Janelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 41 and the Health and Human Services report.
To the Health and Human Services report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bill was amended, actually as a strike below, to delete unnecessary forms and paperwork as it was redundant and already done in practice. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Health and Human Services Committee report? Seeing none, the question before the body is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. To the bill, Senator Janelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 41 is a bill that is putting into state statute what is already being done at the federal level. The FDA regulates the approval of medications, not the practice of medicine, and this means that providers can use approved medications in ways that are best for their patients, even if it's outside the approved FDA labeling. And this is why I brought forth Senate Bill 41. It puts into state statute the protections for prescribers and for pharmacists. I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and appreciate the good senator from Larimer County bringing this bill forward. The meat and potatoes of the bill, if you're interested and want to look at, what does this bill actually do? We heard that a few times in committee. Hey, can somebody just kind of distill this down for us? If you look at lines 18 through 22 of the strike below, in a nutshell, this says that a prescriber may prescribe or administer an FDA-approved drug for off-label use. The prescription and administration of an FDA-approved drug for an off-label use by a prescriber is not, here's the keywords, by itself a violation of or grounds for discipline pursuant to the Prescribers Act, Applicable Practice Act. So more or less saying, if a prescriber is prescribing off-label drugs, this is not providing any sort of immunity for them. It is simply saying that that act in a vacuum, in and of itself, is not grounds for a violation, and that's what the senator and I are concerned about, making sure it is codified, is put into law, those protections for doctors and pharmacists. And I believe we have support from all of those organizations, and happy to answer any questions. I would ask for an aye vote.
Senator Jaquez Lewis.
Just because it's your birthday. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was the lone vote in the Health and Human Services Committee, and I wanted to just explain why I voted against it. I do want to thank the sponsors for the strike below that fixed the administrative burden that was getting ready to happen to pharmacists. I just wanted to explain that off-label use of medications can be very problematic, and we never actually heard from any of the physicians that prompted the letter. We never actually got to see the letters, but I just wanted for the record to state that with off-label medications that can be very serious. We lost 293 people who used hydroxychloroquine, HCQ, during the pandemic. They died from off-label use. We've had thousands die from use of Seroquel, in off-label, and we've had patients who were impacted by ivermectin that was used off-label. So that was my concern, but I am glad that we have some passive support from some of the professional organizations. So that is why I voted against it in committee. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I rise in support of Senate Bill 41. I think that it just makes sense that we codify protections for doctors and hospitals, particularly after a global pandemic. This is a common sense bill, and I urge your support.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 41? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 41. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 41 is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. The motion before the body is that the committee rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 15. Senate Bill 41 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 15, Senate Bill 41 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1007?
House Joint Resolution 1007, Representatives McCormick and Catlin, Senators Roberts and Simpson, concerning approval of water project revolving fund eligibility list administered by the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, the good senator from Avon and I are happy to bring forward to you House Joint Resolution 1007. It feels a little routine, but it's anything but routine. It's where by statute we have to update the eligibility list for projects that will fall under the Drinking Water Revolving Fund or access funding from the Drinking Water Revolving Fund and or the Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund. So this is an opportunity to make additions, modifications, and deletions.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President, and honored to be bringing this resolution with the good senator from Alamosa. This is the process that we go through in order to fund water projects, and I think what's really interesting about this is everyone in this chamber can look through this resolution, and you can probably find a number of projects in your district all across the state. These are important projects for our water infrastructure, for our drinking water, our sanitation, and everything else that's important to maintaining our water infrastructure, and we look forward to bringing the actual projects funding bill in a couple weeks where all of these good projects will be funded. But with that, I ask for your support on this resolution so we can get this important process started.
Is there any further discussion? The motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1007. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Joint Resolution 1007 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Bridges, Coleman, Minority Leader Lundin, Kirkmeyer, Gardner, Liston, Rich, Malika, Exum, Hanson, the Pelton twins, Baisley, Will, Jaquez Lewis, Janal. Zenzinger. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. We were almost there, but it seems like there is broad support, so I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors to House Joint Resolution 1007. Consideration of governor's appointments. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read all of the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Member of the State Board of Stock Inspection Commissioners for a term expiring May 1st, 2026, Eric Morling of Fort Morgan, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the confinement cattle industry, reappointed.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of all the appointments on the consent calendar, which includes the member of the State Board of Stock Inspection Commissioners.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of all of the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes on the consent calendar? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the appointments are confirmed. Signing of bills.
February 6, 2023, the President has signed Senate Joint Resolution 5.
Announcements. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, was founded in 1909 by a multiracial, multi-ethnic group of freedom fighters to end the epidemic of lynchings at the turn of the century. The founders include people like W.B. Du Bois, Mary White Ovington, and Ida B. Wells Barnett. Their mission is to ensure that the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons, and to eliminate race-based discrimination wherever it exists. The vision is that the NAACP is a society in which all individuals have equal rights without discrimination based on race. And their purpose, the NAACP State Area Conference, which includes Colorado, Montana, and Wyoming, coordinates the civil rights activities of freedom fighters and game-changing activists in our 3 states and helps move forward the policies and initiatives of the NAACP National Board of Directors and their staff. We have a few members here that I'd like to recognize here in the chamber. Wanted to recognize Addison Petty, Shartasia Miller, Pastor Thomas Mays, Angela Stevens, June Waller, Robert Lee Stevens, and also Portia Prescott, who helped to organize the group. Please join me in giving them a round of applause.
Senator Fields.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. I'd like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. I just want to welcome my friends from the NAACP. I am a member. I've been a member for a very long time. And I want you to know how much I appreciate your advocacy. You see, the people in the neighborhood, they call you, and when they need help, you're there for them. And when I think about that kind of work, it's not easy because it puts you out front of so many issues. But where would we be if it wasn't for the NAACP? Many of you know this is Black History Month, and Rosa Parks was a member. And she was the one that kicked off the civil rights movement when she said, I'm not going to give my seat up to this white man. She knew what her truth was, and she was going to take her seat. And because she took her seat, and she was the secretary, by the way, of the NAACP, the youth division, and she helped organize that movement. So we all here, as the Black Caucus, stand on the shoulders of Rosa Parks and so many other members that have done the work for civil rights and racial justice in our nation. I'm just here to say thank you so very much for your advocacy and your lifetime support. Thank you.
Further announcements. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. As former Representative Bill Sinclair used to say over in the House, Listen up. Members, tomorrow is the Youth Mental Health Action Day, and tomorrow morning there will be breakfast outside the old Supreme Court chambers at 7:45 to 8:15. And I think all of you share our concern about youth mental health and the need for us to be proactive. And tomorrow is the Action Day. Please join 100 advocates for breakfast, coffee, juice. Learn how you can support youth mental health this legislative session and the important bills we're doing. See you tomorrow morning at 7:45 outside the old Supreme Court chambers. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, announcement, the Senate Republican Caucus will be meeting at noon today in room 354 to review the 2022-23 supplemental package. I encourage everyone to attend. Again, at noon in room 354, the Republican Senate Caucus. And I'll be chairing, so a special event.
Don't miss it. Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Members, I know we're wrapping up our work here this morning on the Senate floor. I wanted to take just a moment, though, to highlight something that's been heavy on my heart this morning as I've read the news, which is the tragedy in Syria and Turkey. You probably opened the paper this morning, opened your phone to see the incredibly tragic images that are flowing out of this earthquake-hit region, a 7.8 on the Richter scale. That hit, and I found myself, the drone photos over the buildings and small children being pulled out of the rubble. I'm excited to report that, we're already seeing the generosity of the world community respond, including search and rescue teams that have flown out, immediately from the U.S. But I just felt like before we wrapped up this morning, we need to take just a moment to recognize the huge suffering that's happening right now. At least 5,000 dead. I mean, from everything I'm reading, it's going to more than double before this thing is finally accounted for. So, Mr. President, just if we could, just a short moment of silence to remember our fellow humans that are suffering right now.
The Senate will observe a moment of silence and the chimes will ring.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege as well.
Granted.
Thank you very much. In following the good senator from Denver's comments, I would like to point out that what I would like to think is one of the most remarkable things about America and Americans is the generosity of spirit. Turkey is a NATO country, an ally in the complex realities of geopolitical things that happen across the globe. Syria is a country with whom we are fraught with political peril and challenge, and quite frankly, conflict. And yet we as a people, the United States of America, are doing work in both Turkey and Syria in this moment in response to this human catastrophe. And I think that is a definition of the best of who we are in the most challenging times that we face as a people united on the globe. And that moment, that thought, that reaching out and connecting with and supporting those with whom you are in conflict on a daily basis or a regular basis, I think is the best of who we are as people and the best of who we are as a country. And I just wanted to call that out. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an announcement, and that is Education Committee will meet up on adjournment in room 357, and we only have one bill today that will be presented by Senator Hansen.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is the last time we'll be in the well talking about this. the Legislative Sportsman's Reception at the Buckhorn Exchange tonight. Come mingle, interact with all the sportsmen, hunters, and fishermen, and enjoy the fine cuisine that we're going to have. And I've mentioned, you know, the duck, salmon, buffalo, Rocky Mountain oysters, alligator, calamari, and even some vegetables. I probably won't partake in many of those, but there'll be vegetables as well. And so my co-chair here, the great senator from Avon, and I will be there. So please come join us. Make sure you RSVP. I've been trying to let them know there might be a few extras, but texting them this morning. So please RSVP. It's on your desk. Thank you.
I love oysters. I'll be there. This flown in from Maine. Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, after you've gone to the sportsman's reception and you've had your fill of Rocky Mountain oysters and buffalo and all these exotic meats, and you're not feeling real well, we want to invite you to come by. Today is EMS Day at the Capitol, and to come by the University Club afterwards, where there'll be normal food and there'll be people that will be able to help you if you have ailments with your stomach or whatever. So like I say, today from 5 to 8:30 is EMS Day at the Capitol. These are the various people who truly help us in times of need, and quite frankly, the types of people who are helping the people over in Turkey and Syria. So I invite you to come and meet these wonderful people that help us every day.
Senator Malika.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, it's also Nurses Day at the Capitol, and so the Colorado nurses are here. So if you see a nurse in the hallway, make sure you take a moment and introduce yourself, shake their hand, say hi. It's been a tough few years to be a nurse, and so they would love to hear from you all. Mr. President, I also have an announcement for the Finance Committee. We are meeting at 2 o'clock. Finance Committee, we will be hearing Senate Bill 42, Senate Bill 25, Senate Bill 56, but we will be removing Senate Bill 52 and delaying that to a future date. So thank you.
Further announcements. All right. You almost snuck away. Will the Senate choir please assemble in the well? We have a very special birthday today. Happy birthday, Jimmy.
I love it,
Will the choir please
I love it. Jimmy,
please perform something special for this great day?
1, 2. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jimmy. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, just a couple of announcements. Our docket clerk, Dave Pineda, who sits right over here, wave Dave, sent out an email yesterday with instructions on how to order Senate merchandise, such as shirts, hats, and bags. Please see Dave if you have any questions. The deadline to submit those orders is 4 p.m. on Wednesday, February 15th. That is a hard deadline, and orders after that date will be charged shipping and could lead to longer time. So make sure you get your orders in by Wednesday, February 15th at 4 p.m. While we're at it, colleagues, this is supplemental week in the Senate. So please remember that any amendments that you have to the supplemental package are due at 4 p.m. today to JBC staff. And seeing no further announcements, Mr. President, I move that the Senate adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, February 8th at 9 a.m.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will adjourn until 9 a.m. Wednesday, February 8th, 2023.